everyone.
Good morning.
I want to do with you right now a visioning exercise. Another visioning exercise. If you will indulge me for a moment. I want everyone in the room to close their eyes. And I want you to conjure an image of yourself. And this image of yourself is going to be your future self, 5 years from now. And 5 years from now, I want you to picture having achieved the greatest success that you desire, your deepest desires. I want you to picture what that looks like. I want you to think about what that feels like. Once you have that image, just hold it for a moment. Okay, now open your eyes. Congratulations, you just planted a seed. Give yourself a round of applause. If you would water that seed with intention, with purpose, and with action, it will come to fruition. Now, I just happen to have a treat for you guys today, because I have a photo of myself 5 years into the future. That's well, haters will say that it's Oprah, but I can dream, right? But going back to the image that you conjured for yourself, I want you to just think about this. It's not a question for you to answer, just for you to ponder. Were you happy with that image? As you pictured yourself, were you happy? All throughout human history, we have grappled with the notion of happiness. What does it mean? What is the significance of happiness? In the ancient Western civilizations, the Greeks used two words to describe happiness. One is eudaimonia, which means a flourishing. The other one is hedonia, which is the pursuit of pleasure. It was Aristotle who said that happiness is the goal of all human thought and action. Indeed, the Greeks believed that happiness, or rather pleasure, was a worthwhile pursuit in and of itself. So you didn't need anything else, just a pleasure, right? Also, in the Eastern tradition, or specifically in the African tradition, we have the principle of Ubuntu, which the founder of Success Summit often refers to, Hubert Edwards. Again, it simply means, I am because of you. And so in the African persuasion, or in that philosophy, happiness is a collective ideal. It's something that is shared. And the philosophy of Ubuntu reminds us that what we need is to look out for each other in order to be fulfilled. So, we have two different interpretations of what it means to have happiness or to encapsulate happiness. Personally, I think it's somewhere in the middle. Because for me, happiness is about balance. But at the end of the day, regardless of what side of the spectrum you fall on, the fact remains that a great amount of our activities, our behavior, is geared towards happiness. Whether it's our individual happiness or the happiness of those that we care about. Next slide, please. Then you look at the definition of success. So what is success? Success is simply the accomplishment of an aim or an objective. And it comes from the Latin noun successus, which is an advance or coming up. So when you hear young people say, I'm working on my come up, that's what they mean, right? They're working on their success journey. It's also from the Latin verb succedere, which is to go next. It gets interesting when you realize that in all of the definitions that you can find for success, hardly ever will you find a definition that actually includes the word happiness. So what does that say? It's very telling. What it says is that success and happiness are not mutually exclusive. So, you can be successful and not be happy. And you can be happy and not be successful. it says to us that along our success journey, we have to be very deliberate about our happiness because it's not going to come automatically. And I personally found that there are 3 principles that if you follow will allow you to also have that fulfillment, a sense of fulfillment and happiness along your success journey. And I'd like you to read them with me. The first one is
on your own terms.
Define success on your own terms. The second one is
maintain the focus on your goals.
Correct. And the third one is
Go.
You click again. Go beyond yourself. Right. So with the first one, which is to define success on your own terms, that simply means that at this point in your journey, it's all about introspection. And a number of speakers have touched on this already today. This is going to require the most introspection. The reason you want to do this is because you want to go deep and you want to pull out those core values. What are the things that drive you at your core? And you want to make sure that whatever it is that you're pursuing, the organizations that you attach yourself to, the friend circle that you have, the products that you attach yourself to, that they are all in alignment with your core values. And the reason that is important is simply this. If there is any part of you that desires fulfillment through the work that you do, if the organization, the people, and everything that you attach yourself to, if they do not align with your core values, that part of yourself is never going to be actualized. I remember my first experience of having success without happiness. It was in 2014. And at the time, I was contemplating a career change. I was not feeling very fulfilled at the job that I was on. And so after much deliberation and consulting with my mentors and my family, I decided that I was going to take a pivot. I was going to pivot in the direction of human resources. And so I set about doing everything that I needed to do in order to accomplish this goal. I enrolled in a Master's of Psychology course, Master's in Organizational Psychology, which I completed in 2016. But before I even completed my master's degree, I was offered a job in human resources. Mission accomplished. The job was promising. I had responsibility for running my own portfolio, which was training. I was a success. In my own mind, I was a success. And I started the job. And I was so happy for one day. One single day. Before I left work, at the end of the first day, I was miserable. And you know what? That made me take pause. I said, what is happening? I did everything that I planned. I set out with intention and purpose, and I went after this and I got it, and I'm not happy. And I had to ask myself, why is that? It certainly was not because of the work. Because I do love the work of human resources. In fact, that was one of the reasons that I formed my company, Key Points Consulting, to assist businesses with the HR functions that they typically outsource these days. And so I'm still involved in the work of human resources. However, I was unhappy because I was not a match with the culture of the organization that I found myself in. So for me, that was a dilemma. And this is why we have to identify and center our core values. Because at the end of the day, we want to be in alignment. We want to move with our core values as a basis for which we compare everything else. And at the same time, you also want to consider your mental well-being. When I consult with persons who are looking for a new job, whether it's for interview prep or even career counseling, one of the things I tell them is, as soon as you get a call back from that organization, from that company, as soon as they call you in and say, we want you to start work, immediately what you should start doing is assessing the values of that organization. And what you'll find sometimes in some organizations, they have a written set of values, and then they have an expressed set of values. And the two don't always align. And that's a red flag. But why does it matter? Because at the end of the day, we all want to get paid. We all have our obligations, we have family, we have things that we need to do. Now, I'm not making a judgment call to say that you should place anything above your financial well-being. I understand the importance of that. But I'm simply saying to you that you want to consider these things because at the end of the day, you are also looking for your fulfillment. And typically what we don't consider when we start out in a new venture or on a new job is my physical health. How is this going to affect my physical health? Let me tell you something. Stress is a killer. It is. It puts a lot of people into an early grave, unfortunately. And so, if you are in an environment that is a toxic work environment, you know what's going to happen? You're going to take some of it home. That now becomes unfair to the people in your life that you care about, who rely on you, and who you rely on. You want to give the best to them all the time. But if you're in a situation where you're unhappy at work, some of that is going to spill over. That's what they call work-life balance, and a lot of people struggle with that. So it is important that at the beginning of whatever it is that you're going to do, whatever journey you're setting out on, that you examine your core values and lead with your core values. The next point is you want to maintain your laser focus on your goals. Does anybody know who this is? Oh, thank you. I'm happy some people know. I think this side of the room is at a loss. That is Madonna. A letter recently emerged that Madonna wrote in 1990. She was writing this letter to her friend. It was a private letter. And in this letter, she was lamenting her life. She was so unhappy. Why was she unhappy? At the time, she was comparing her life to some up-and-coming artists, phenomenal women in their own right, Whitney Houston and Sharon Stone. And she was saying to her friend, boy, life really ain't fair. You know, the media, they're not fair to me. They just have Whitney Houston and Sharon Stone as their media darlings, and they don't care about me, and I just feel so depressed. This was in 1990. At the time, Madonna was at the height of her career. That year, she had a #2 Billboard hit. She would go on in that same year to record a major portion of her greatest hits album. For all intents and purposes, 1990 was an awesome year for Madonna. But here she was, so sad, so depressed. Because why? She was comparing her journey to the journeys of others. And this is why we have to stay focused on our goals, and we have to stay focused on our individual journey. Because sometimes what will happen is you will start out on your journey. You will do all of the preliminary work that you need to do, and you will get started. And as you're walking along, you will look to the left or you look to the right, and you'll see somebody just jogging past you. And then you'll say, hey, what's happening here? You don't see me yet. And you'll start to question yourself. Well, why is it that this person is moving along faster than I am? What is it about? What am I doing wrong? Stop. Stay focused on your goal. Remember, at the end of the day, you have to protect your own mental health. You have to protect your psychological well-being. And you have to stay focused on your goals. Because you're going to be hit with so many things once you step out of line. And one of the presenters alluded to this as well. As soon as you decide, I believe it was Dr. Rumor, as soon as you decide that you're going to do something outside of the norm, people are going to come for you. You're going to be faced with so much rejection that you have to develop a tough outer exterior. Because you have to be able to take apart the criticism that you receive and move on. The final point that I want to leave